How good is Austin Reaves actually? Last year we saw Austin Reaves have a little bit of a breakout second season, and then now he's been showing out in the FIBA exhibition games. And this has spawned a lot of discussion about how good he actually is, how good he can be, if he's overrated. Depending on who you ask, you're gonna hear a bunch of different opinions. If you talk to some Lakers fans, they're probably gonna tell you that he's a future all-star, and then some other people will probably tell you that he's a little bit overrated. But what's the actual truth? Well, that's what we're going to talk about in today's video, so let's jump right into it. The big question for the Lakers heading into this offseason was, what's going to happen with Austin Reaves? Are the Lakers going to be able to re-sign him? And if so, are they going to have to match a max contract offer from another team? Or are they going to be able to get him on a little bit of a bargain? There were rumblings that the Spurs were potentially thinking about offering him a max contract, but before anything could come of that, the Lakers gave him everything that they could, with Reaves signing a deal worth $56 million over the next 4 years. And considering some of the contracts that we've seen throughout the offseason so far, that is an absolute steal. He's getting paid $14 million over the course of the next 4 years. Given the fact that Dillon Brooks is getting $20 million a year for the foreseeable future, I'd say this is a pretty good deal for the Lakers, especially considering the fact that the Lakers don't have a ton of wiggle room right now in terms of their cap situation. Being able to bring him back on such a team-friendly deal is going to be huge for them. Now, one of the big problems when trying to assess how good Austin Reaves is and how much better he potentially can be going forward in his career is the fact that he turned 25 at the end of May and he's heading into his third season. His developmental curve is a little bit different at this point than a guy who's 22 heading into his third year. But given how much improvement he showed from year 1 to year 2, there's reason to believe that just because he's 25 years old doesn't mean that he can't keep getting better. He was scoring more, assisting more, and getting to the line more on a per 75 possession basis last year compared to his rookie season, and he was a ridiculously efficient scorer with a true shooting percentage of 68.7%. This level of improvement over the course of 2 seasons is incredibly impressive regardless of your age. And things get even better when you take a look at what he was doing after the All-Star break. Reaves put up 17.6 points and 5.5 assists on 57.8% shooting from the field and 44.3% shooting from beyond the arc. And keep in mind, the Lakers went 16-7 over that 23-game span. A big chunk of this time, LeBron was dealing with that foot injury, so Reaves was having to take on a larger share of the offensive burden, and he definitely lived up to it. The pick and roll game between him and AD was especially effective. He flashed a little bit of ability to manipulate the defense with his scoring, with White showing here at the elbow with Jaylen Brown guarding him, and he stops to fake the turnaround jumper, which is going to get Brown off of his feet, and then Reaves is going to pivot to draw Cornette's attention before he dumps it off to AD, who slams it home. On this side pick and roll with AD, he's going to use the screen to drive towards the baseline, which forces Looney out to the wing to cover him. He's going to abuse this mismatch and get an angle towards the basket, and it prompts both Kuminga and Clay to come over and provide help, and it leaves AD wide open for him to dump it off for the finish. Now, an important thing to note about Austin Reaves' game is the fact that he's a very good mid-range shooter. He shot 52% on shots in floater range and 48% on long mid-range jumpers, and he did this on pretty significant volume. So drop defenders in the pick and roll definitely have to be cautious of conceding those in-between shots. So when AD and him are running the pick and roll here, notice that Aldama has to stay angled partially towards Reaves instead of just focusing on AD on the roll. Reaves is going to capitalize on this attention, and he finds AD for the finish with pretty much zero contest. Same situation here, Hartenstein overplays Reaves on the drive, making it to where he'd have to make a pretty difficult hip rotation to have any chance at contesting AD, so Reaves is going to connect with him on the lob for 2 points. Being able to force defenses to hone in on him as a ball handler is going to be a big factor as to whether or not he'll be able to handle more on-ball duties and function more as an offensive facilitator. His ability to score even against good defenders is one of those things that seems like it should be more of an issue for him than it actually was. Here he's in isolation against Aaron Gordon, who is a notably very good defender, and he's going to drive right before using this really nice behind the back move to get Gordon off balance, and he catches it near his shooting pocket so that he can get right into the fadeaway jumper, and it's completely out of reach. When he's probing the defense, he's very patient, recognizing that he's got to wait for AD to get down further on his roll, hesitating and faking the shot at the nail before continuing his drive on Kennard. He uses his shoulder to bump Kennard off of his spot to where he's preventing Jaren from contesting him, so he's able to just pop up for the shot without any issue. He uses this screen here from AD to get Tyus Jones caught up behind him, and this is going to put Jaren Jackson in a difficult position trying to guard the pick and roll basically on his own. Reaves is going to switch to his left hand, but Jaren's going to take a swipe at the ball, so Reaves uses this in and out dribble to prevent the steal, using a low short dribble to transfer hands. Jaren is going to overextend himself and he ends up falling, and it allows Reaves to get by him to the basket, and he's going to get the shot off before the defense can get there, and he ultimately gets the goaltending call. He has no problem scoring in the pick and roll, and among players spending at least 25% of their offensive possessions as the pick and roll ball handler, he scores at some of the best efficiency of any of the top guys shown here. Now keep in mind, he's playing far fewer minutes than most of these guys here. That scoring efficiency as the pick and roll ball handler will likely come down a little bit if he were to get more volume next year and in the years coming. But even if his efficiency comes down from where it's at right now, it's probably not going to come down to a level where he's no longer efficient as the pick and roll ball handler. It'll probably just be a more realistic number. Another really important thing to talk about with Austin Reaves is how ridiculously good he is at getting to the line, especially considering he's not super athletic, yet he has zero fear of contact. He got to the line on 20.7% of his shot attempts, and that puts him in the 100th percentile of wings in the NBA in terms of getting to the line. Given his athletic limitations, this is something that he's going to be able to make use of, not only to just generate points at the line, but also force defenses to back off a bit and allow him more room to breathe so he can create for himself and others. I came across a really interesting stat when I was prepping for this video. It involves the estimated plus-minus stat from dunksandthrees.com. I'm sure some of you guys have heard of it. It's one of the few all-encompassing advanced stats that I think actually does a good job of gauging how much value a player provides. If you look at Reaves' 30-game moving average throughout all of his career games so far, you can see that around game 90, he started to skyrocket in estimated plus-minus, going from just under an EPM of -0.6 all the way up to 1.8. Looking at his total season EPM of 0.9, it's really promising that he finished the season among the best guys of his class in regards to EPM. Now, again, advanced stats are subject to scrutiny. I know some people love them, some people hate them. I'm somewhere in the middle, but I do think that this one does a pretty decent job of showing a player's progression. If you want to check out EPM, I'll leave a link to dunksandthrees.com in the description. Not sponsored, but I do like their site. Now, defensively, Reaves isn't a traffic cone, but I wouldn't say he's elite. One of the most important things to note when we're talking about this side of the ball for him is that he's at the very least giving good effort on the defensive end. I don't know if he's ever going to be a lockdown perimeter defender, but he's also not exactly a guy that you can target on defense. I'd consider him closer to neutral defensively, and in the context of the Lakers' defense, he does fine. Now, obviously, we don't know how long it's going to be until LeBron retires, so we don't know how much longer the Lakers have him for. But it's safe to assume that the future for the Lakers is probably going to revolve around Anthony Davis and Austin Reaves. Reaves put up some pretty insane numbers when it was just him and AD on the floor post All-Star break. In 907 total possessions when him and AD were on the floor together, he recorded 21 points and 6 assists per 75 possessions, while shooting 71.6% on twos and 50% on threes. Those numbers, if they're to be trusted as any indication of what he could do as a lead guard, are a lot closer to like borderline all-star level numbers and a lot less similar to role player numbers. The big question is going to be, does his performance and his production scale with higher usage, more shots, more defensive attention? Once defenses start to focus in on him a little bit more, is he going to be able to remain as efficient as he is? Because right now, he's insanely efficient. But if he has to start creating looks for himself against the second best defender on a team instead of the third best defender on the team, does his efficiency see a decline? Now, obviously, we can't say for sure right now, but it's definitely something to think about and keep an eye out for as we start to head into these next few years of his career. So to answer the question, how good is Austin Reaves? Well, he's pretty dang good. I'd say the best case scenario is that he ends up being in that kind of lower tier fringe all-star caliber level of guard at his peak. In worst case scenario, he already is and will continue to be a very, very good starting caliber guard for a very, very long time. And given where they picked him at, I'd say that's pretty good value regardless of what the outcome is. So what are you guys expecting from Reaves this upcoming season? What do you think his ceiling is as a player? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. Huge thank you to all of my patrons for helping make these videos possible. If you enjoy this kind of content and you want to see more, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so that you never miss another video. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.